Hi, Vincent.
Hello.
Welcome, welcome. How are you?
Um, I'm good. I'm good. Okay, so we did the father's hierarchy of virtue, right? Did we already do that?
Yes, and there's two more on the list.
What are they? What do we have to do?
One pertains to a story about the Christians trying to find a definition of heresy and and being sad and upset that they can't. And the other one is about breaking up Ramadan so it doesn't inconvenience non-Muslims under secular Koranism.
Okay, hold on. I'm just getting my coffee ready. Oh God.
Why the moaning?
I wish I wasn't so tired.
Oh, you managed to get things done. Well, it's
Okay.
morning for you, isn't it? So I guess we're entitled to feel a little tired in the morning. Or is there any sort of medication you're taking that's making you sleepy?
No, no, just makes me tired. I don't know. I'm just tired.
Mm. Well, I'm tired of people being stupid and annoying. I mean, perspective was just so, you know. Well, anyway, I mean, okay, yesterday, he picked the most boring pamphlet, and then he admitted that he's an Islamophobe anyway. So I guess he's, basically saying, I've lost the argument because I'm stupid. Because if I admit to Islamophobia and announce my Islamophobia, I'm saying that I'm irrational anyway.
That doesn't
So,
mean you're irrational. That reminds me, that kind of reminds me of my mother. So okay, um, my mother was involved in a very, very, not high profile, um, um, legally changing. So this is what happened. My mother and her second husband were married, and whatever, they either had no religion or they were Christian or whatever. So then they got divorced or whatever, and my mother converted to Jehovah's Witness. Now, at the time, if two people were married, had children together, and were raising the children together, and then they got divorced, one of the parents could not switch the religion of the children. So, yes, that's what it was. Yes, that was the law that could not switch the religion of the children. And actually, this law was so binding that I remember um, during the process. So, what happened was my stepfather took my mother to court to prevent her, when she converted to Jehovah's Witness, from taking the children with her and converting them. So this law that you could not bring your children with you into your new religion was so binding that my mother was not allowed to teach my brother and sister the Jehovah's Witness religion. And we got around that by, so my mother couldn't do it. A Jehovah's Witness could not teach them. So the ruling was no Jehovah's Witness could teach them the Jehovah's Witness religion while the court trial was going on. But I wasn't baptized, so I wasn't a Jehovah's Witness. So I used to teach them, which was, kind of our way around. Um, but anyway, during the trial, you know, um, so one of these, during the trial, some people came to testify against my mother. And I don't know what I don't know what they said against her, but they came to testify against her because I wasn't there, so I don't even know what they really said.
Were they
But
Jehovah's Witnesses or not?
what?
Were they Jehovah's Witnesses or
No,
not?
these were no. These
Your
were
okay, your her ex-husband's witnesses.
no. These were her and her ex-husband's friends who turned against her when she became a Jehovah's Witness.
Uh-huh.
Yes, those witnesses came in to testify against her and to say she was a bad mom and all this other kind of stuff, and trying to get the kids taken away and all this other kind of stuff. So my mother's lawyer, who was one of these, you will find rare Jehovah's Witness lawyers, either they were lawyers before they converted, or in a very rare instance, they were specifically sent to law school by the organization in order that the organization could have a lawyer. And they actually assigned, because it was such a monumental case, the large organization actually assigned my mother a free lawyer who was a Jehovah's Witness lawyer in order to help her with the case. And so there's this woman, all I remember from the trial, really, other than that my mom won, was that the woman was like, whatever, there was this one woman on stage, not on stage, one woman testifying against my mom, an ex-friend of hers that didn't want her bringing the children into the Jehovah's Witness religion. And she was going on and on and on about, I guess she was talking about how bad the Jehovah's Witness religion was. And my mother's lawyer stood up and was like, do you hate Jehovah's Witnesses? And she was like, yes, I do. And she's like, okay, well, thank you, blah, 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 blah. And I don't know, it somehow made it, it validated her testimony or something like that.
Yes.
That, why would that
That she would
invalidate
be
your testimony?
biased. Because
So what?
she would lack credibility as a truthful
Why?
witness.
Just because you hate something doesn't mean you're not a good.
Because you'd hate them so much that you tell lies about them. That's basically.
Well, I don't really think that was very. I don't know what she said, but I don't know if she said anything untrue about Jehovah's Witnesses. And if she didn't say anything untrue, why isn't she allowed to hate them?
Well, it just means that saying you hate something or someone so much would undermine your credibility. That your testimony would be biased, maybe malicious, made up. It's that sort of idea, anyway.
Oh, that seems ridiculous.
But really, I think she should have been allowed to give evidence, but then say, oh well, she's probably lying because she hates them so much, and she admitted it, and blah blah blah.
Well, I don't know. I didn't think that was enough to discredit her as a witness just because you hate a cult. I mean, what if my mom was joining the Carol Balzette cult and was trying to prevent my brother and sister from having medical care, and they brought me up on stage and they're like, oh, well, what kind of mom was your mom? And I gave all this bad testimony, and then her lawyer stand up and said, do you hate the teachings of Carol Balzette? And I said, yes. I don't think that should disqualify me as a witness just because I hate the teachings of Carol Balzette.
Well, perhaps you can ask your mother what she thought the reason was, but I imagine that your mother's lawyer would say such a declaration of extreme hatred would undermine her credibility as a witness. Because, and also it would depend on how established the religion is. If it's some, new cult, people are just going to be prejudiced against a new cult.
Yeah, they are, and
But
So
it
I don't.
actually, it's kind of unfair because actually the first Christians in Rome, anyway, were Arians because Constantine the First and his son were Arians. And then mysteriously, in 380, the Roman Empire decided that Arianism was going to be declared heresy and it had to be Trinitarianism. Or perhaps we can do a pamphlet on that because I think that's very interesting. Um, and I would suggest that Trinitarianism is actually an injustice against Jehovah's Witnesses who share Arian beliefs, but which you sort of deny, don't you?
Well,
But I
because
mean,
they don't believe that. They don't believe even Jesus is even part of the Godhead. That Jesus is an angel. Jesus has nothing to do with God in the Jehovah's Witness religion. He's a created being, a created angel, like like anyone, like any other angel. He's not, godlike, or he's just an angel. That's it.
yeah, and angels are meant to be automatons in that they don't have a will of their own. They're just following God's orders, whatever they are. But anyway, I think Jews, Christians, and Muslims are supposed to believe in angels. Every now and then God does send, someone in human form to do stuff. But yeah, I mean, so it's hard. I suppose Jehovah's Witnesses are saying we should, as Gentile Christians, be more focused on the Bible, right? I mean, would you agree that that is a feature of being a Jehovah's Witness, that you know your Bible really well, better than Trinitarians?
Yeah. I mean, that's part of the big thing that a lot of reason why Trinitarians don't like talking to Jehovah's Witnesses, because they know the Bible too well. You know what I mean? And if you know the Bible too well, then you might. I don't know, but yeah, no, they know the
But
Bible
you
very,
might
very.
win the argument. I mean, that's basically it, isn't it? You
But you
know,
might lose an argument. Yeah, if
yeah,
you might
yeah.
lose an.
You might lose an argument as a Trinitarian to a Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah, so they don't really like discussing it with them because most Trinitarians can't quote the Bible. There are some that can, but it's like Jehovah's Witnesses tend to be miles ahead of anyone in that direction when it comes to Bible knowledge.
Hmm. So, um, I've forgotten the next point I was going to make. Oh, perhaps it'll come back. But really, oh yes, I remember now. Sola Scriptura. I guess. I mean, are we agreed that when Catholics have a go at Protestants, they're saying, "Oh, they're sola scriptura," you know, these stupid Protestants, these Catholics would say, think they can just pick up the Bible and interpret it for themselves, and that's stupid. And look what a mess it made of everything. I think is the Catholic position on Protestantism. Would you agree?
Yeah, something like that, I guess. I don't know enough about Sola Scriptura or whatever it's called in order to. I don't know enough about it, but
Okay, I'll
um,
ask Rob in case I'm wrong about you know my guess. Uh, what is sola scriptura? It's just so good to be able to stop for a while and ask Grok a question, and then okay, I'll read it out. Um, Sola scriptura is a Latin phrase meaning by scripture alone. It's a theological principle that emerged during the Protestant Reformation in the 16th century, particularly associated with reformers like Martin Luther. The idea is that the Bible is the sole ultimate authority of Christian faith and practice, nothing else. Like church tradition, papal decrees or human reason holds equal weight. So it's basically, saying we're not going to accept your authority, Pope. Um, to continue, in essence, it asserts that all doctrines, teachings, and moral guidelines should be derived directly from Scripture, and anything not explicitly supported by it can be questioned or rejected. It was a pushback against the Catholic Church's reliance on both Scripture and sacred tradition as co-equal sources of authority. Protestants who hold to sola scriptura argue that the Bible is clear enough, at least on essential matters, for believers to understand and apply without needing an intermediary like a priest or a church council to interpret it for them. That said, it's not a monolith. Different groups interpret by scripture alone in slightly different ways. Some take it super literally, while others allow room for reason and tradition as secondary guides, as long as they don't contradict the text. Critics, like Catholics and Orthodox Christians, argue it leads to endless splintering of beliefs since everyone's reading the same book but coming up with different conclusions, which, fair point, history shows that's kind of what happened. Right, and then I think we'll ask Grok a question on, are Jehovah's Witnesses considered to be more sola scriptura than other Christian denominations? Oh, okay. I will read, all it has generated, the 4 paragraphs, but it's just saying Jehovah's Witnesses do have a final interpreter, and that's a Watchtower Society. And it says you don't just get to read the Bible and draw your own conclusions as the Jehovah's Witnesses. Interpretations come top down from the organization. Dissent from their official doctrine, even if you think it's biblically grounded, isn't really an option. This is a stark contrast to classic sola scriptura, where the individual believer, guided by the Holy Spirit, has more interpretive freedom. Think Luther's priesthood of all believers. Compare that to, say, a Baptist church where members might debate a passage's meaning in a Bible study without a central authority slapping down a ruling. So their reliance on the Watchtower as the lens makes it closer to sola scriptura plus organized authority than the raw, unfiltered scriptura alone of Reformation ideals. Okay. Jehovah's Witnesses' approach is more controlled, less solo. Okay.
Yeah, don't lean on your. Yeah, we were always taught not to really read the Bible alone. We were taught to always have the Watchtower material with us and use it as a study guide. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, let's work on the pamphlet anyway, let's work on the first pamphlet.
So the first pamphlet I have in mind is a story about Christians getting demoralized that they can't even agree on a proper definition of heresy, but incorporating attempts to find one and a detail of its failure.
Okay. Using all the data you have so far on secular Koranism, write a story about how Christians who can accuse each other of blasphemy using all the data you have so far on secular Koranism, write a story about how Christians who can accuse each other of blasphemy are in a conundrum. Okay, how do you spell conundrum?
CONUNDRUM.
Conundrum are in a conundrum because they cannot come to an agreement on what blasphemy is. Write the story showing Christians trying to define blasphemy but being unable to come to a conclusion. Do you want it to be a comedy?
Okay.
Is that what you want?
Well, no, I think it'll be funny anyway, even if we don't say it's a comedy.
Okay. Using all the data you have so far on secular Koranism, write a story about how Christians who can accuse each other of blasphemy are in a conundrum because they cannot come to an agreement on what blasphemy is. Write the story showing
because Unitarians would say that Trinitarians are heretics, and Trinitarians would call Unitarians heretics.
Okay.
Just
okay. Because Trinitarians call Unitarians heretics and Unitarians call Trinitarians heretics. But you don't want that to be the sole. You want that. It's going to focus in on that a lot, but comes to agreement
that's
on what.
fine. Did you want Jehovah's Witnesses to be included?
No,
I think that would just complicate things a bit.
No, wait. Comes to agreement on what blasphemy is. Wait, I know how to do this. Don't forget to mention that Trinitarians call Unitarians heretics and Unitarians call Trinitarians heretics. Write the story showing Christians trying to define blasphemy but being unable to come to a conclusion. Okay. Okay, it's generating. Hold on, let me just get some things ready. Someone commented on your pamphlet about where children go to school and
Wow, really? On education?
Yeah, on the A, B, and
Thank you. That's such great news. I mean, I was getting so annoyed. I was considering blackmailing people and all kinds of things. You have to read it. You have to leave a comment. I will know if you haven't. B schools. So this is the second part, the version 1 or version 2?
Version 2.
Version 2. All right.
It should be almost the last one pamphlet that's up all the way down at the bottom.
Oh yeah, Secular Koranism on how your marital status determines where your child goes to school. That
Yeah,
one.
scroll down to the bottom of that and you'll see it.
Okay. The focus on encouraging marriage and structured parenting reflects a strong commitment to social cohesion. However, some aspects like the classification of parents and corporal punishment might be seen as too strict for modern audiences. The tiered school system is an interesting idea, but ensuring it helps uplift all children rather than separate them could make it more effective. If the goal is stronger families, why not focus on real support, better education, economic help, and social programs rather than harsh penalties and forced hierarchy? It's a serious one, isn't it?
Yes. I'm about to send you the heresy story. Blasphemy or heresy?
Same thing.
What?
It's the same thing.
Okay. Okay, I've sent it to you.
Below is a detailed party story for the Secular Koranist Party of America set in a near future America under secular Koranism, focusing on Christians struggling to define blasphemy within the state religious registry system, where they can accuse each other of heresy. The story incorporates all the data provided on secular Koranism, highlighting the Trinitarian Unitarian divide, each calling the other heretics, and the broader Christian conundrum of failing to agree on a definition of blasphemy, leading to an inconclusive outcome. The blasphemy conundrum: Christians in chaos. In the bustling community center of Harmony, Ohio, on a swelteringly unbearable July afternoon in 2028, a group of Christians gathered for an emergency meeting under the watchful eye of the Secular Koranist Party of America. The SKPA, ruling since March 2025 under the Secular Koranist Constitution, had implemented a state religious registry system that classified Christians as church-confirmed, unaffiliated, or heretics, with heresy inquiries triggered by accusations of blasphemy. But as the Christians of Harmony soon discovered, defining blasphemy was a theological minefield they couldn't navigate. The room was a cacophony of voices: Catholics, Baptists, Unitarians, and unaffiliated Christians, their IC coats, IC1 whites, IC3 blacks, IC4 Asians, as diverse as their beliefs. At the centre stood Sister Margaret O'Connor, a confirmed Catholic who recently accused Hannah Green of heresy for claiming Jesus' miracles were parables. Now Margaret was back, pointing a trembling finger at Thomas Reed, an IC1 white Unitarian. "He's a heretic," she bellowed, clutching a rosary. "Unitarians deny the Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. That's blasphemy." Thomas, a 45-year-old Liberian and unaffiliated Christian Unitarian leaning, shot back. "No, you Trinitarians are the heretics. The Trinity's idolatry, 3 gods, not one. You're the blasphemers, perverting the Bible." The room erupted. Trinitarians, Catholics, Baptists, and Unitarians each hurling heretic at the other, their registry cards flashing like battle flags. Clara Nguyen, the IC5 Chinese SKP representative, I think this person is really me, sat at the head table, her militia vest gleaming, flanked by Jacob Bloom, IC1 heretical Jew, and Aisha Patel, IC4 Muslim from the Judicial Committee. The SKPA system allowed Christians to accuse each other of blasphemy, triggering inquiries to classify them as heretics. But Clara's patience was thinning. Order, she barked, slamming her gavel. This is a department for debate. This is a session. Define blasphemy or we can't rule. Margaret stood, her voice shrill. Blasphemy's denying the Trinity. Unitarians reject Christ's divinity. It's in the Nicene Creed 325 AD, Thomas countered. No. Blasphemy's adding to God. The Trinity's a pagan invention. Unitarians follow the Bible. God is one, not three. A Baptist, John Carter, IC3, confirmed, jumped in. Both are wrong. Blasphemy's denying the Bible's miracles. Like Hannah Green last year. Miracles as parables? That's heresy. Hannah... Hannah, now a registered Christian heretic after her 2027 inquiry, rolled her eyes from the back. I cited Jefferson's Bible, no miracles, just morals. You called me a heretic, fine, but Jefferson too. You can't even agree on blasphemy. Her kids in B-plus schools, RUP status whispered, Mum's right, they're a mess. The debate spiraled. A Catholic priest, Father Michael, IC1, confirmed, argued. Blasphemy speaking against the church. Unitarians reject papal authority. An unaffiliated Christian, Sarah Jones, IC0 mix, scoffed. That's your rule, not mine. I'm non-denominational. Blasphemy's denying Christ's resurrection. A Trinitarian Baptist shouted, no, it's rejecting salvation by faith. The Unitarians fired back, you're all idolaters. Trinity's a real blasphemy. Clara pinched her nose. The SKPA's conundrum clear. We're agnostic. Claire calls vision, no faith. She muttered to Jacob. Quran chapter 2 verse 256, no compulsion in religion, means no blasphemy penalties for us. We define idolatry as not guided by the Torah or Quran. Trinity's unguided per Noahide Law's Public Law 102-14. But Christian blasphemy, they can't agree. Aisha nodded. Muslim self-ID, Jews split observant Hilonim, Christians are a mess. Beyondism stats show confirmed lead cohesion, unaffiliated lag, but heresies undefined. The room descended into chaos. Trinitarians and Unitarians trading heretic barbs, Baptists and unaffiliated arguing miracles, Catholics citing the Pope. Clara slammed her gavel down again. Enough! We've heard you. Trinitarians call Unitarians heretics for denying the Trinity. Unitarians call Trinitarians heretics for inventing it. Baptists, Catholics, unaffiliated, you all disagree on blasphemy. We can't rule without a definition. Father Michael pleaded, use the Nicene Creed. Trinity's the standard. Thomas countered, use the Bible. God's one, not three. Hannah smirked, use Jefferson's Bible. Reason over magic. Clara sighed. We're not theologians. Secular Koranism's law, not faith. Our 2028 utopia, crime down 50%, education up 40%, needs order, not your squabbles. We'll log this debate, no verdict. File with the Department of Complaints and Suggestions, DCS, to define blasphemy. DFT debates it next month on state TV. The Christians left grumbling. Trinitarians and Unitarians still at odds, no closer to agreement. Margaret muttered, Unitarians are doomed, while Thomas retorted, Trinitarians are the real heretics. Hannah, her heretical status unchanged, laughed. They'll never agree. Jefferson's my guide. Clara, filing the report, shook her head. Christians, more chaos than Helonim. Beyondism tracks their stats. Let's move on. In harmony, the Caliphate's order held flat tax, no usury, socialized medicine, but the Christians' blasphemy conundrum remained a theological knot, untied and unending. The end.
And what did you think?
I love it. I mean, it would have been interesting with Jehovah's Witnesses, but it would, it maybe be too much theology for the average Joe. But we can do it later, like, Mormons and,
Yeah.
Jehovah's Witnesses, whatever. What do you think, Vincent? What do you think?
What do you mean, what do I think? Well, I thought it was fine.
Oh, good.
I thought it was fine. I sent you some pamphlets, about 2 or 3.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
Secular Koranism on a 1-year grace period on the whipping of unmarried parents. Secular Koranism on mandatory volunteer adolescent work service. I like that one.
Oh, God.
Shall we have a go at the Muslims now?
Okay, hold on. Okay.
So let me run it by you. So basically, they're supposed to fast in the month of Ramadan. And they can't even agree whether it's 29 or 30 days, which is dumb. But anyway, or even when it starts or when it ends, because, they've got a few disagreements there. But there is a verse in the Quran that says, sometimes unavoidably, you cannot fast continuously for the entire month because you might be traveling, you might be on your period, you might be sick, so you have to break it up. So I'm saying you don't have to fast continuously at all, Muslim, as long as you fast, for 29 to 30 days. Depending on what kind of Muslim you are, and you can break it up. Please don't do it on your employer's time, because you're, depriving your employer of your, usual services by fasting during work. So you can't fast during, when you're working for your employer, and therefore you have to fast at weekends or on holidays if that is what you prefer. And if you want to get it over and done with, you can just sort of do it all at the beginning of the year or something, because there are 52 weeks in a year, so there are 52 weekends, and 52 times 2 is over 100. And within the 100 days in the weekend of the year, Muslims can find time to, fast as and when they wish, when it's convenient for them. And this is how I intend to deal with Ramadan under secular Koranism.
Okay.
And imagine them complaining.
Okay.
No, actually, do a pamphlet and then maybe do a story if we have time. Okay. Yes.
Using all the data you have so far in secular Koranism, write a party pamphlet to Muslims asking them to break up their Ramadan fast into parts, because not eating for 29 days Using all the data you have so far on secular Koranism, write a party pamphlet at party to Muslims, asking them to break up their Ramadan fast into parts because not eating for 29 days during daylight hours interferes with their ability to work in a secular non-Muslim society. Okay. Suggest that they can break up their fasting on weekends or on holidays, stretching out the 29 days over a year's period. Suggest that include party complaint that even Muslims don't agree on how many days Ramadan is, 29 or 30, and that they don't all agree on when it starts and ends. Using all the data you have so far in secular Koranism, write a party pamphlet to Muslims asking them to break up their Ramadan fast into parts because not eating for 29 days during the daylight hours interferes with their ability to work in a secular non-Muslim society. Suggest that they can break up their fasting on weekends or on holidays, stretching out the 29-day fast over a year's period. Include party complaint that even Muslims don't agree on how many days Ramadan is, 29 or 30, and that they don't all agree on when it starts and ends. So modifying the fast should not be a big deal. Good? Hello?
Yes, 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 yes.
Okay.
That's good enough, I think.
Okay. Okay, I've sent it to you.
Mm-hmm. Below is a detailed party pamphlet from the Secular Koranist Party of America directed at Muslims, encouraging them to break up their Ramadan fast into parts to better integrate into a secular non-Muslim society, using all the data provided on secular Koranism. The pamphlet suggests fasting on weekends or holidays over a year, addressing the lack of Muslim consensus on Ramadan's duration and timing, and frames the modification as a practical adjustment. A practical Ramadan, adapting the fast for a secular society. To the Muslim citizens of the United States, the Secular Koranist Party of America honors your place in our diverse nation under the Secular Koranist Constitution, effective March 10, 2025. As a party rooted in CARECOR's agnostic vision, we strip the Quran of faith, keeping its laws for governance, no usury, a 20% VAT tax, and mandatory marriage contracts. We respect your freedom. Per Quran chapter 2 verse 256, there shall be no compulsion in religion, but we propose a practical change. Break up your Ramadan fast into parts, fasting on weekends or holidays over a year, rather than 29 consecutive days during daylight hours. This adjustment ensures your ability to work in a secular non-Muslim society while fulfilling your spiritual duty. Here's why this matters, how it works, and why it's no big deal given Muslim disagreements on Ramadan itself. The challenge of Ramadan in a secular society. Ramadan, your month-long fast from dawn to dusk, is a noble tradition, but its 29-day duration, sometimes 30 more than that later during daylight hours, disrupts your ability to thrive in a secular non-Muslim society like ours. Work interference. Fasting from food and water for 12 to 16 hours daily impacts productivity. Construction workers, IC6 Arabs, baristas, IC4 Asians, and teachers, IC1 whites, report fatigue, dehydration, and reduced focus per Beyondism data 2026. Economic impact. Our flat 20% tax funds socialized medicine and state businesses. Your reduced output during Ramadan strains the system, slowing growth. Projected 2% GDP dip 2027. Social integration. Non-Muslims, observant Jews, Hillel Christians, works not division. A 2028 utopia, crime down 50%, education up 40%, shows order works. Ramadan's current form, while sacred, hinders this in a secular context. A practical solution, break up the fast. We propose a simple adjustment. Break your 29-day fast into parts, stretching it over a year. How it works. Instead of 29 consecutive days, fast on weekends, for example, Saturdays and Sundays, or state holidays, for example, Festival of Freedom, Harvest Festival, our secularized Jewish calendar. Example, fast 2 days per week for 15 weeks, 30 days in total, or 1 day per week for 29 weeks. Your choice over a year. Maintain dawn to dusk fasting on those days, ensuring spiritual continuity. Benefits: work without fatigue. Full productivity aligns with our mandatory volunteering work service for teens, 20 hours weekly. Integrate socially. Join non-Muslims in daily routines, strengthening community. Economic stability. Your output supports our no-usury economy. This isn't compulsion. Chapter 2, verse 256 ensures your freedom. It's a suggestion for harmony in a secular state. Why it's no big deal. Muslims' disagreement on Ramadan. Even Muslims don't agree on Ramadan's details, so modifying it shouldn't be a big deal. Duration dispute. Some say Ramadan is 29 days, others 30. Lunar calendar discrepancies cause this. Our Jewish calendar, adopted for stability, avoids such chaos. For example, Ramadan's 10 to 12-day annual shift. Start-end disagreement. Muslims globally differ on when Ramadan begins and ends. Moon sighting debates, for example, Saudi versus local sightings, create confusion. In 2024, some start at March 11, others March 12. Practical precedent. If you can't agree on 29 or 30 days or exact dates, stretching the fast over a year is a minor tweak. Your spiritual intent remains. Our registry of religion, self-ID for Muslims, shows you thrive when guided by Quran laws, for example, no usury. This adjustment aligns with that guidance, secularized, addressing concerns. Some may ask, is this disrespect? Does it weaken faith? Here's the truth. Respectful. Chapter 2, verse 256 of the Quran. No compulsion. You're free to fast traditionally. We suggest this for practicality. Faith intact. Your intent, spiritual discipline remains. Fasting over a year still honors Ramadan's essence, just spread out. Debate it. File with the Department of Complaints and Suggestions, DCS. This violates tradition, and debate on state TV via the Department for Debate, DFD. We refine through reason. Join the practical path. On March 10, 2025, we launch this initiative. Plan. Choose your fasting days, weekdays, holidays over a year. Register. Update your status at SKPA offices. Muslim fasting plan noted. Thrive. Work. Integrate, succeed. Our caliphate leads globally. Clerical secular Koranism, law, not faith, builds a unified future from harmony to the SKEU. Let's adapt Ramadan for a secular world. For unity, for order, for progress. Secular Koranist Party of America, March 10, 2025.
Okay.
Comment.
What did you think?
Well, it expressed my intent clearly. I have no objections.
Okay. Good.
Mm.
I'm just making some food.
Okay. Well, the thing is, I suppose you're making work for yourself, because every time we stream, we're making more work for you. But I hope you think it's fun.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. Yeah, I don't mind. You know, we'll just keep making more, and I'll keep posting more, and that'll be that.
Mm. So I think we've used up all our ideas for the moment, so I'll have to have a think about what comes next. Have you any ideas that you'd like to try out and produce a pamphlet on?
If you give me a little bit to think, maybe I do.
Or I suppose we can do a story about the Muslims being angry at having their Ramadan broken up. That could be quite funny.
Yeah, that could work. I'm just sorry. I'm just making some eggs right now.
No, take your time. Take your time. You know, I'm just resting my voice too.
I don't know. I wish there was some big new news to discuss.
Well, I'm not even listening to the news anyway.
I hope we get Greenland. That would be nice.
of course you're going to get Greenland. I mean, all Trump has to say is like, hey, Danish kingdom, we're going to, give you a sum of money and you better accept it. And if you don't, we're going to propose a referendum and ask the Greenlanders whether they want to be Danish or American. And we control Google, and we can, adjusting, make the algorithms show that Greenlanders want to become American rather than remain, Danish. We can do that. And Greenland will be Trumpland.
Will be what?
Trumpland. They might as well call it Trumpland. Because it's not green, is it? I mean, the whole idea of, calling it Greenland was to fool, the Danes who, didn't want to go to Iceland. Because, they swapped the name. Iceland and Greenland are part of the Danish Empire. But the Danish government thought, if we call the nearer one Iceland, that they'll not want to go to the nearer one, which is actually quite nice and green and, pleasantly close to Denmark. And we'll call the one that is really cold and horrible and far away from Denmark, Greenland, to trick the more credulous Danes to go and live there.
Yeah. Yeah, that wasn't very nice. Well, it didn't work. It only has a population of 50,000. Nobody wants to live there.
But maybe you'll have all these sort of, Danes, well, we want to go to live in Greenland now that Trump wants us. Who knows? That there might be, a party of Danes who think we don't want to be part of the stupid Danish kingdom, who I don't know. It's possible. Well, we could do a story on that, maybe. Well, I actually know a Canadian who said, I'd rather be American than be British. Though, of course, he's not, typical. I mean, we're going to assume that, Trump has plans for Greenland. He's not just going to, just take Greenland and let it stay exactly as it is. He's going to develop it, and there'll be jobs for, whatever he intends to do with it, I suppose. Prospecting for, oil. Or why does Trump want Greenland? We'll ask Rock that. For the usual geopolitical reasons.
What?
For the usual geopolitical reasons. Oh, God. You can't hear me?
Yeah, I can now.
It's for a space base. Melting ice, opening new shipping lanes like the Northern Sea Route. Resources are a big draw. Greenland's got a stash of rare earth minerals, stuff like neodymium and dysprosium, essential for tech like batteries and wind turbines, plus uranium, oil, and natural gas. Locked under its ice. As climate change thaws in the Arctic, these become more accessible, and Trump likely sees a chance to reduce US reliance on China, which dominates the rare earth market. Okay, so he's gonna there will be jobs, right? So maybe, I guess if I was thinking ahead as a Dane, I'd say, well, not much is going on in the Kingdom of Denmark, and if I move to Greenland now, I have a chance of living under Trump and being American.
Don't move to Greenland, Claire. You'll hate it.
Well, I'm not Danish. But yeah, I mean, I know somebody who has lived there, and he said, and she said it's basically full of drunk Eskimos. Are there any Muslims in Greenland? There's more than one mosque in Las Vegas,
Really?
Yeah.
Excuse me.
There are no mosques or formal Islamic communities. But Greenland's interesting for Muslims because of Greenland's extreme daylight patterns. So you could end up fasting for 21 hours if you're Muslim in Greenland, when in the
Yeah, I
sunlight.
read that. I actually read that the imams had to issue decrees on Muslims living in northern Sweden, when they could start eating because the daylight was too long and they were unable to eat at all, very much or very little hours during the day, and so they had to kind of come up with a system to allow Muslims in northern regions to eat, which proves, its geographic, location. Obviously, this would not have been a religion that would have been invented in northern Sweden, right? Because nobody would say you could only eat in the middle of the night, and that wouldn't make much sense.
Yeah. I mean, an argument could be made that Muslims in other parts of the world should just follow Meccan fasting times, and Mecca is quite near the equator, so its daylight hours is more or less the same all year round. So if Meccans break their fast at 6 and start their fast at 6, then it's only 12 hours.
Yeah, no, it's a problem. It's a problem. It doesn't make sense everywhere around the world. You know what I mean? And yeah,
Yeah, so
I mean,
everywhere else it should be Meccan time. I mean, Meccan hours of fasting, I should say. I mean, it's pretty obvious to me, but
yeah, no,
that's
I mean,
okay.
I wouldn't be able to do that. I wouldn't be able to go to work and fast at the same time. I would be dying. I would be swooning. I can't not eat. I can't go, so many hours without eating. I wouldn't be able to get up, have no breakfast, no lunch, and just keep working, 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 working. No, I would be starving to death.
Mm, yeah. Have you eaten your eggs?
Yes, I have. I've eaten them. Yes, I've eaten them. Yeah. Let's take a little break and maybe we can go and we can do some space in a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, we've been on for an hour or so and we made 2
Yes.
pamphlets.
Yes.
So that's
We've done
good.
quite well. Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll text you in a little bit.
All righty.
All
Thank you,
right.
Vincent.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.